Going back to our top story on the unconditional discharge of the US President-elect Donald Trump and what it means, we are very glad to be joined by Ambassador Manjeev Puri to discuss the ramifications of this big story. Ambassador, sir, thank you so much for joining us. Namaste. So, decode the whole unconditional discharge, which many would say has come. You're already given your first reaction, which comes on the expected lines. But this trial has been historical in many ways, where we are looking at the former president and the future president of America and the composition of the jury and much more. How do you look at it?
Sakal, thank you very much and wish you a very happy New Year.
To you too, sir.
So Mr. Trump has again done many firsts. After, I think he's the second president to have come back after a gap, i.e. after losing an election, again standing and winning and coming back to the office. And this time, for the first time, I don't know in how many decades, the Republicans actually won the aggregate vote, not just the electoral college. So he is quite used to doing first, but this is, I don't know what to say. Practical ramifications there may not be, but he will always carry this business of being a convicted felon and one who has been sentenced. This is something also that he's the first who's done it. He tried his level best. He went to the New York State Supreme Court. He also appealed in the US Supreme Court, but I think none of them came to his rescue. And the judge in the New York jury, remember one thing, in the United States, you have the jury system. The jury is actually a kind of a way of judgment where your peers judge you. So a jury composed of people who live in New York, ordinary people who live there, they convicted him. So, he did get convicted. Now, overturning a jury verdict is something which is rarest of rare in the United States and would have. And the judge would have sentenced him. It could have been some prison, fines, etc. But by the time it came around to sentencing and Mr. Trump had tried all kinds of legal methods to stall all of that, he had been elected as president. So the judge really had very little options because he couldn't have interfered or done something which would have interfered with a duly elected person as the president. So the only option was what is called unconditional discharge. This means he's sentenced, he's a felon, but no fines, no prison terms, nothing. But if you say, or if you look at it like this, you and I would feel very bad. A stigma does get attached to you.
But were you surprised?
No, I wasn't. Because he had been convicted by the jury. So there would be sentence. Of that, there was absolutely no doubt. But after he won the election, the judge chose the one option which was available, which was to say, you stand sentenced, but the sentence is no fine, no prison term, no nothing at all. But you stand sentenced and that's it. In technical parlance in the US, it's called unconditional discharge.
Will it have any implications on the public sentiment? I mean, he won the elections, the campaigning was dramatic against the backdrop of the case itself, followed by assassination attempts, and there were many twists and turns till he actually reclaimed his stake to claim to the White House. So what next? I mean, the reasons that you've attributed, the way this case has unfolded, legally speaking, public sentiment?
Well, Sakal, public knew about it. He had been convicted by the jury even before 8th of November, the election day. So the people knew it. My understanding is that all those who voted for it, and it is now the majority in the United States, they knew about this. Frankly, in their understanding, he was the candidate that they wanted to make the president of the United States. They are aware of it. That he will carry this for himself. He will continue to, when he looks into himself, looks around here and there, you would agree with me, it's not a good feeling to become the most powerful person in the world and then to carry this tag with you of being a felon and that to one who has been sentenced.
What about his international standing, having said that?
I don't think all of this makes any difference. Everybody knew. Everyone knew this. But he's the president of the United States of America. He's the president of the most powerful country, most important country for most people. The people will deal with him the way it is. How does it matter if you know that there is a little stain in his personal character. It doesn't really matter. You deal with the presidency, you deal with the person who is the president. And I think things will go forward, in my opinion, pretty normally. Of course, people could chuckle to whatever else in the background, but how does that really matter? You're dealing with the most powerful person in the world.
Ambassador, but this is also weakest of the weak as far as other cases that were slapped against President Trump. Many would say this was a case which didn't have much merit as compared to the other cases.
So look, this is a case which involved a technicality. The original offense itself of paying off somebody was a different matter. But then he hadn't declared it appropriately when he stood for the election in 2016. So was the allegation. The thing is that it went to a jury trial. In the United States and in countries which have juries, juries are the highest form of taking this particular kind of decision, because they say you're tried by your peers and your peers have taken a view. And he was convicted and the convictions are unanimous. You know, that's the nature of it. So you can keep having your views on the subject, but whatever 12 ordinary New Yorkers found that he had fallen guilty of the law, even if it was a technical breach, the fact was that he had committed what is a felony in their system.
What do you have to say, this being a singular moment in US's history where a president-elect or a former president faced sentencing for this kind of a case, which was controversial in for many reasons, the conviction even after when the nation's highest court refused to intervene?
So Sakal, look, Mr. Trump is unique in every way, isn't it? I told you the second time in the history of the United States that somebody has come back to win. The fact that he was already convicted by the jury was known to the people. And look at that case about which this happened, the very fundamental case. I don't think on Doordarshan in India we can even repeat the allegations of that particular case. I mean, with our sense of morality, etc.
Right.
But you know, that's the United States of America. They look at it in various ways. People know about this. They are well aware. But their understanding is that's okay. We still think he is the best man to be the president of the United States and lead our country. And they voted.
Right.
And not only is it a victory in the swing states and so on and so forth, but it is a victory where in numbers he's won more votes than his right.
Yes. Well, that's the bottom line, and also that's the writing on the wall, and you got to respect people's verdict. We are talking about the oldest democracy here in the world. Ambassador, will this sentencing significantly impact Trump's upcoming responsibilities as a president? I mean, what do you
I don't think so at all. You know, look, he will continue to nurse this grounds. But that has nothing to do with how he will act, and it brings no impediments at all on his ability to act domestically and internationally. And, you know, he will rail against the judge. He may make some kind of efforts at appeal. I don't know if that is possible in the US system. He may do all of that. And of course, it is a kind of personal grouse and hurt which will continue. But I don't think it will make any difference to his abilities to act. What it does in his own mind, etc., is a different matter. And the implications of that, going after those who prosecuted him in other fora where he has the abilities that they haven't resigned, or bringing some kind of similar things through his Department of Justice against people, or making criticisms on social media, which he's already done. He called the New York Attorney General all kinds of names. So that will continue. That's the nature of the individual.
Right. One final question. When President Trump described his conviction as a weaponization of the United States justice system against a political opponent, calling it lawfare and other names, and then the way this trial has unfolded with the composition of the jury, etc., we are not commenting on anything. But do you think this whole weaponization and playing victim did it actually hold any ground with the masses there?
Look,
the constituency, I mean.
Yeah. So look, Saka, the US Supreme Court is heavily weighed in favor of the conservatives. They did not intervene. Remember, even in 2016, when he kept saying the election has been stolen, they didn't intervene. They have taken several other decisions, Roe versus Wade. They've taken the decision on the powers of the presidency, which literally allowed the January 6th allegations to become very, very difficult to prove in terms of competencies, etc., etc. So they've done all that, but they didn't intervene. These are the facts. His base will, be more supportive. But right now, how does it matter? They've elected him. People have done. Those who voted the other way, I don't think this has made any difference from what they have a little bit of a talking point, but that's about it. That's the way I look at it. He himself will nurse a grouse. And what he would do in terms of the individuals concerned, what he can do, let's be also clear. He doesn't have unbridled powers. This is the state law. The United States is a federal country, and these people get elected on their own steam in their own way. So, you can criticize, you can call it unlawful, you can say everything that you want, but can you really be able to take action? Well, again, the law comes in. The United States believes that its law has the greatest majesty. So let's see. Of course, it will. He'll nurse his own crowds.
Yeah. So the outcome has clearly cemented the conviction while freeing him to return back to White House for the second time. The case is done with. It's done and dusted, as they say. Right.
And he's president. So that's a fact. And unencumbered.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much.
In the mind.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much discussing this story with us on our show. Thanks, Ambassador Puri.